Hey, you guys, today is April the 15th. The time now is 9:42 in the AM. And I'm just touched to finally put my storybook out because I would like for this to be written as well. All right. Ooh. Welcome, all my divine loves and my divine lovettes. Um, this is the introduction of my story. But first of all, this is your home. So come right on in. Refreshments on the left, coffee on the right, water fountains, and restrooms in the back. You guys already know on this channel, we do not lack. All right. So, you guys, this is my sober story. This story starts with my sober journey, okay, in every way. First of all, let me tell you guys, I recognize from 12 to 21, I did everything under the sun. I can't make it up. You know, at 12 years old, I actually started to intravenously use um, at 12 years old. I was an intravenous user. I started out with BI-62s, Zebras and Dilaudid, things of that nature. You know, I think alcohol came early for a lot of people in that time. You know, end of 70s. And stuff like that. Alcohol was freely, so um, can't quite remember, my first brush with alcohol because back in the day they used to put alcohols in our bottles to put us to sleep. So, um, yeah, but I do know my first, touch with BI-62s. And that was the real thing that was going on. Oh, a lot of you guys don't know what that is. That's BAM. You know, you oil the BAM. So I started oiling BAM when I was 12 years old. And Zebras and Dilaudid and things of that nature. Green tape, black tape, red tape, anything that came across the board. And that was also heroin. So I did these things from 12 to 21. Um, And needless to say, it didn't bring me anything good in any way. You know, matter of fact, it made my decisions very clouded. Because I I guess I became reckless, and I'm gonna say it like that. Um, the neighborhood I grew up in was very strict, so it was very limited dating. We didn't play that. Back in the day, it was like that anyway. Everybody had respect for their bodies back in the day, or mid 70s and things of that nature. You know, women and men, they had respect for their bodies, and we had respect for others' relationships. So those were vows and codes. We actually live by codes, moral codes. And that means if that's her man, I don't touch him. If that's my man, you can't touch him, and things of that nature. And it's just out of respect. Why? Because in the neighborhood I was in, you could actually get killed, from doing something like that. And it was very hard, It would, okay, I'm not going to say very hard. You could not date anyone outside of our neighborhood, period. That's how close knit our neighborhood was. They didn't play that. And I understood that because if you guys know back in the day, it was a hard knock way. You know what I mean? Neighborhood hoods were actually hoods where people could not come in that didn't have a familiar face, or or else he wouldn't have a face. at all when he leave the place. If he get carried out a certain way. But the bottom line is, and I actually grew up in Washington D.C. So that's that. But the bottom line is, it was a lot going on in that time. A lot of things being introduced. And I ran away from home at 12 years old too, because I had to, because once I, you know, got that Mickey's big mouth in me, and I don't know, one guy said when he came to my school, I'll never forget this guy said, we have something he bought from North Carolina, South Carolina. He said, uh, something proof, 100 proof or 99 something proof. And I don't know, it sounded good to me, so I went to try it. And I left the school and I never came back. Because I mean, everybody used to try to figure out how they're going to graduate. I graduated that day. I said, I'm not coming back. I'm sorry, I'm going with the 99 proof. I sure did. And so I became a, a junior high school dropout very quickly. Matter of fact, shy of eighth grade, never looked back. And so I ran away from home. Uh, um, and I stayed on missing persons. In DC, we have this radio station called WHUR, and they used to call my whole name every morning, faithfully at 7:45. And I used to try to blast the music or I was around people or, because I didn't want anybody to get paranoid. Like, if we all getting high and they think that, they're going to get picked up by the police or I'm really hot or so I used to turn the music up real loud until a couple of nosy friends would try to lure me back to my house, and I thought that was not nice. At the time I didn't think that was nice at all. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys. I skipped over some things because I prior to share the information with you guys before. My story was very unique. Coming up, I had that generic past where my mom was older when she had me, so naturally she didn't want me. My parents were 1922 parents. My mother had me in her 40s and not giving her any, pass or anything like that, but I will always love my parents no matter what. And that's just who I am. I really don't get caught up in the small details. If I'm gonna love you, I'm gonna love you because I love you. It's not because of what you did or didn't do, or how you did it or didn't do it. That's just who I am. I don't know how that is. It's just who I am. I'm a Virgo. I was born September the 1st. So, and I think that has something to do with that as well. When we love you, we love you. Bottom line. So my mother, she didn't want me. My father actually didn't know what to do with me. So he ended up selling me to a woman who used to beat me with the buckler belt, locked me in a closet. I was born left-handed. They made me right-handed. So I was kind of, angry coming up. So prior to the 12 years old, I used to be angry. I would fight all the time. I don't know. I always thought people were against me. So, and pretty much, a lot of people seemed like they wanted to test us back then. So I had to show my skills. And believe me, I showed my skills because I was angry. I was like a little female Mike Tyson. I laugh because that's real. You know what I mean? And that is so real. I love Mike Tyson when he say something. But the bottom line is, yeah, I grew up that angry. Bringing it up to present time, like I said, I ran away from home at 12 years old because, you know, to me, it was nothing there. You know what I mean? And to be honest, I don't want to tell you guys why. Because you guys, I will put this in a comedy skit because I forgot to put that in there. So I'm gonna leave that for that. So the bottom line is, I started doing BI-62, Zebras and Deladas when I was 12 years old. Also, I was introduced to the heroin, which is black tape, red tape, green tape back then, and doing so much of that. You're dibbling, dabbling in the world. You know, what else? I've seen a lot of things that a lot of people shouldn't have sung. And it really, because you ever think these songs and things follow your life? Because I think Runaway Child that came out at that time. And it was like, are they following me? Because they played Runaway Child, running wild. You better go back home where you belong. I was like, man, I'm not, because I done dropped out of school. I'm not going back. I got money on my mind. So needless to say, I end up dating someone in the neighborhood, and my mom let them actually come in, to stay with us, and that was very unique at that time. And in our day, you know, um, it was mandatory that you would date somebody older with some sense, back in our day. So my daughter father was definitely 10 years older than me, and um, that was a natural dating scene back then because, the way I was raised. And my mom, she kind of gave me that 1922, or 20s, 20, she was born in 25, and my father was born in 22. But anyway, my mom gave me that 20s type of rule, which means that she tried to keep me in the house by allowing me to have a boyfriend. And the rule is if I want to go somewhere that he had to approve it. And him and my best friend, they never got along on purpose, I thought, because they never wanted me to even have fun. And I was so mad because I would tell my best friend, I'd be like, Shorty, please be nice to him. And I'd be like, because, this and this and that. So maybe one time they agreed on something, but it wasn't the big stuff. And it broke my heart, you know. Actually, before this best friend, I had another best friend that she actually went to the Flashlight concert. May she rest in peace. Um, she went to the Flashlight concert, and her boyfriend strangled her behind the stairwell to death, and they locked him up. But however, my life changed dramatically, and I think that's actually when I started oiling because I always block out on that specific part that left me to nothing because me and her mom, we did the same routine even after she had passed on. Her mom would open the door for me with the music blasting, the old school music that I love, she loved. And we would sit downstairs and wait for her to come downstairs. Like, she was the queen or something. But we used to do that because we loved her too so much. And me and her mom used to repeat that routine at least 3 months after she passed. Until one day her mom moved out without telling me. And that changed my life. So it was like I had no way to process it. We didn't have, anybody say, oh, talk to somebody. No, we didn't have that back then. So the way I processed it was, I guess, I was willing to try anything, to ease that pain because, for one, I blame myself and I blame my mom for not letting me go to the Flashlight concert with her because, that was a big deal. It's like, I really felt like if I would have went with her, that her life would have been saved, you know. I feel like we would have never been on any back stairwells. We would have been dancing and having a good time because that's what I believe in, and that's what she really believed in. That's what she wanted to be there for. I wouldn't never see her in the back of a stairwell for what? You know what I mean? She would have been with me out there, and I would have been like, come on, let's go here, let's go there. We would have been having fun. So I blame myself for many years for that. until, years after. So I was, doing a lot of things at 12 years old, you know what I mean? As far as, oiling and and one boyfriend. And one thing about oiling back in the day, it was everything was anything back in the day was a lot more classier than it is today. It wasn't like, oh, this I don't know what's going on today. It's like everybody's welcoming, unwanted germs. I don't know. But the bottom line is, back in the day, we didn't play that. It was just, that one, you'd be with that one, and it would be like you guys were married, and everybody see you guys walking down the street, and it would be respect. That's his girl. That's his her, man. That was the end of that. Especially where I came from, it was big respect for, relationships, and like I said, we still didn't have the luxury of dating outside the neighborhood. That was a complete no-no. And I wouldn't want to be, the first to bring a gentleman into that, thinking that I was bold and then harming the neighborhood in any way. So I, kept that simple as long as I could, So what I did was, if I ever wanted to meet anybody after me and my daughter father, because I ended up having to separate from him because he wanted the same old lifestyle. And, you know, by 16, I think that's, you know, when my outgoing prophecy started coming about. I've always been peculiar because, like I said, the experience I had at 4 years old. Oh, my abuse, it was at 4 years old. When this woman was uh, put me in a hole in her wall, and I hope I said that. Locking me in her closet. But I thought I always said it was a closet, but it was really a dirty hole in her wall. Um, so um, when I experienced all that, it's like, you know, um, inside those when at that time, and I'm gonna take you guys back because that's where my actual thing started. When it was like a real angel walking with me, like in the closet with me or in the dirty hole, in there with me, telling me that it was gonna be all right. It was amazing, and it was showing me all these beautiful things, like how it was gonna be when I get out. And I was born with a hole in my heart, just to let somebody know, and um, so the, it was evident then that something was leading me and guiding me and talking to me and showing me and kept on guiding me in such a way where, letting me know it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay. And um, so that's when things started for me, like hearing the spiritual guidance, and things of that nature. So by time I was 16, well, um, needless to say, you guys, I, you know, uh, had the early pregnancy because I didn't know anything about anything. We didn't even have a drug commercials, So it's not like even in my mom's time, cigarettes were not deemed to be unhealthy. I really wish we could get a payout for our parents because our parents also went into smoking cigarettes blindly because it was so called deemed as safe. And they all died of cancer, you know, any type of lung cancer or cancer of the esophagus for my father. But I'm just saying, it's like that payout should be tremendous because it actually took lives. And then to later on discover that it was really potent and bad for your health. But back then they was smoking because they really thought it was a safe thing to do, to calm your stress or what have you. Um, just to give you a background on that story. Yeah, because see, our parents back in the 20s, they were smoking before the Surgeon General warning had put that, this Surgeon General warning went on the cigarettes. That was way before that. People were smoking, and those cigarettes were very long. They were smoking. They were longs, and then 100s and stuff like that, and mores and stuff. So by I say the brink of 16, I was barely knocking on 16 door. Um, I end up, pregnant, and it was so funny because I didn't, how you don't know how smart your friend might be or might not be because you guys are hanging so much and getting high. You don't know until they really do something unbeknownst, really stupid, and then you think it's because they're getting high. Right. So we're in the doctor's office, and my close friend at the time, before my best friend, this is my hanging partner. She went with me to get the results of the pregnancy. And the woman came back and said, she pointed to me, she said, "You're positive and she's negative." And then my best friend, well, my close friend at the time, she turned around, looked at me and said, "Shorty, I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant." And then the nurse looking like, I know I said something the right way, right? I thought I gave the information. She was like, "Shorty, I'm negative. I'm pregnant." And I was like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I didn't know, she was right. So the the nurse had to say no. But so the bottom line is I found that out, and that was my first pregnancy. I stayed in labor for 6 days. I'd be mad at them people who say a few hours or whatever like that. I stayed in labor for 6 straight solid days. Labor pains 1 minute apart for 6 days. Uh, Family members taking turns, coming down the stairs, sister, brother, coming down the stairs, trying to, sit on the couch with me to do their shifts. Contractions 1 minute apart for 6 days is what I said. And so around the third or fourth day, I guess it was like, you got to go to the hospital because this is crazy. It's every minute. It got to be coming. So go to the hospital, say it's not coming. And they gave me sleeping pills. They say you can take one now, take one later. So I took, and they said you could take both, but I'm telling you, we can't give you any more. And I was like, wow. So they only gave me two sleeping pills because I couldn't sleep 1 minute apart, contractions. No, for 6 days I couldn't sleep. So, I took both of them because I really needed to rest and I needed to stop being in pain every minute. And so I took the two pills and I slept for a half an hour and woke back up hollering again and again. So, um, yeah. So that was that. Yeah. So, oh yeah, I gave my body a break though with my daughter, my first daughter. I really did. I gave my body a break. I didn't drink, I didn't smoke. It was like a no-no. And as a matter of fact, that's when my daughter father became violent because I guess he thought I was trying to reject the lifestyle or going to be away from him, or I don't know. So it was a lot of abuse there, and I experienced that for sure. And getting pushed down a whole row of steps and box springs or thrown on me while I was pregnant and all that, you know, bed box spring, like the whole box spring just landing on your body, weird stuff, because he was out of control, so to speak. So had my dose in that energy. And thereafter, let's see, um, Then years later, I just kind of, yeah, I started working at 16. That's another thing that hurts me, with this economy or this world today. It's like, I don't know what they're doing, but the bottom line is, I really was candy striping early too. I candy stripe at 12 years old. I did get a chance to do that in between. Um, when I was very young, 12 years old, I did do that. I had a moment with that, and that was fun. It was really um, enlightening dealing with elderly. So I knew that my calling was elderly and babies. I knew my calling was that. I didn't have to look up my chart and see Virgo to know that my calling was elderly and children, like babies. And so, because I love me some babies, I really, really love babies with all my heart and soul. Um, So I started working right away. I went to adult education. I put myself in adult education. And back then they were smart about education. The adult education program that I was in, they um they had a daycare center downstairs directly. So and I'm major attached to mine. So every break I got, I would go down there and check on her and be with her and hold her and then go back upstairs and go to class. So it was really nice. So I went to adult education. Um, Also, I I went to work. I started working. I wasn't playing. Like I said, I was working two jobs right away. That's how I started. So I was working two jobs in one building and with one company, and it was the hotel. So when I clock in, I would do 25 rooms per day. All the way up to my ninth month. 25 rooms per day, and then go downstairs and do clock out and then clock back in into the laundry and do the laundry. So I would clock in at 7 o'clock in the morning, do 25 rooms to 7 to 5, and then come downstairs and clock out and clock back in the laundry department and go from 5 to 11 at night doing the laundry and then start back over the next day and the next day. So that thing I was doing. And and yeah, so that was a thing. So ever since then, I just, kept on, keeping on the movement. You know, um, I experienced a lot of things, a lot of downfalls, pitfalls, prior, using drugs and alcohol. That's why I always know that, you know, those things do not like me. And obviously, they say there's only three places you can end up. It's either jails, institutions, or death, and then not to mention, family hiccups. Who wants to invite, certain people to a cookout, you know what I mean? Or anything like that, those type of things. So it could go on and on. And the whole, the whole expenditure of that lifestyle, is definitely distasteful, you know, in my eyes. It was even when I was doing it. But I do know, like I said, when I was doing it, that I was looking for an escape from all of the loss and the trauma and the hurt and the pain because I didn't realize I had it locked away. I had that pain really locked away early on, and I did not know that. I mean, I got it, and it's crazy because I'm surpassed grown, and I still can't say my best friend, like I said, that passed away, name today. I just know she was there, but I cannot say her name because I don't remember it. I know I believe it began with an S, but I just don't remember it. That I really think that it will unlock more pain. I don't know. So and that really did damage me because uh, I knew death was, a thing because my grandma had passed, because, I haven't had a grandparent since 74. I haven't had a parent since 97. So like I said, my parents was older. So I already knew that I knew that death was there, you know. However, I just, you know, didn't know it could reach, my best friend at the time. So that stayed with me. Like I said, I blamed myself for years. So fast forward to me 16, working, all the way up to, like I said, 21. When I found out I was pregnant, I believe I was 21. And I just know I had my daughter at 21. So January, you know, and I had a Capricorn baby. Right? So I had my daughter when I was 21, and that's when I realized that I said to the higher realms, I said, you know what? I said, please, this is it for me. Let this be it for me. I don't want that life anymore. I really want to give up that life. And the higher realms heard me. And so lo and behold, at 21, I gave up everything. I used to smoke cigarettes. I was a chain smoker. I smoked my Newports and Players, menthol. What? I was 110 pounds soaking wet. What? So I'm just saying, and that wasn't cute back then. I still don't, I still like meat on some meat on the bones, man. That's ridiculous. So I always confuse that weight with crackhead weight. I'm sorry, I'm still old school. I'd be like, no, thank you. So you gotta have some, body fat mass on you to show that you're healthy, as far as I'm concerned, for me. So anywho, I by 21, it was a revelation, to behold because I had my second child and I was now mother of two at 21, you know. And lo and behold, I was already serious with my first daughter because I wasn't playing. I was really, working very hard, you know. Uh, and okay. I got to tell y'all this story, and it really hurts my soul. But anyway, so I was still getting high, after I had my daughter. Like I said, 16, I was working at a hotel. And then when I left the hotel, I went to work for Popeyes. And Popeyes, everybody used to go on their break and get high. So I would do the same. So I would go with them. So we'd go on our break, get high, come back. And y'all, I don't know. I just, this sticks with me, a part of my story. This sticks with me so deep because it was the dumbest thing on earth. I held that Popeyes line up. That line would be white, pass out the door. And I would be so high. I would be so high. And they had me on biscuits. And I didn't realize maybe, listen, I was so high and they had me on biscuits, buttering the biscuits. So I was buttering the biscuits, putting them in the oven, buttering the biscuits. I'm thinking I'm doing a top-notch job because I got all these people, lined up waiting. I'm like, look at them people, they waiting on the biscuits. Man, Popeyes fired me the next day. The big deal was they were waiting on the biscuits because I was too high and I was slow. I was slow. I was holding up progress. I thought I was making. That's what I say. That stuff is a liar. You hear me? By then that love boat came, and I'm not gonna lie, I was smoking some of that stuff. And Yeah, that's that embalming fluid that they put in the weed back then. And that was crazy. So we did that. It swept the area at that time, the stuff. And we would go smoke that and then try to come back to work. But I didn't know it would affect me. So I must have been slow motion on them biscuits. But I thought I was like, popular. I was like, they really love the biscuits. I'm doing a good job. Yeah. So help me God. The next day I come in, they was waiting on me. They like don't even clock it. I was like, it gotta be a sin, man. Gotta be a sin. What? And it was weird because, oh man, my daughter father was already outside waiting for me in the ride. He was like, "What happened?" I was like, I don't know. I just, yeah. Ah. So anywho, that parenting journey began. And this was not my daughter's father, at the time. This was my boyfriend, because I had broke up with my daughter's father. Because like I said, I was like from 16 to 21, I felt the urge. I kept on getting the urge. And every time I get high with somebody, I'd be like, we gotta stop this. So it was like I was messaging there or prophesizing there. We have to stop. We have to stop. Everybody said it. We have everyone that I said this to now, they died from that. And that really hurts my soul, because I continued the journey, but it was like the higher realms was trying to plant the seed through me early to everybody else and to me, because it was a part of me. That seed was such a part of me. I kept on telling her, right, it's we got to stop, this has to stop. We got to, you know, live differently, blah blah, and all that stuff. So I was like, we really gotta leave this alone. And everybody that I said that to, they're no longer here. May they rest in peace. So I have a lot of spirits with me, no matter what. You know what I'm saying? It's no matter what. And that's why I, took a company in sharing with you guys the song that I wrote, because I don't know what it is, you guys. I didn't know, till later on in life that my father knew Billie Holiday and he was with her. Because, my father was a music promoter. He used to promote Jimi Hendrix and Lloyd Price. So he used to have me in clubs early. They used to be telling him, oh, you take that white baby back home, and calling me a white baby. My father was caramel chocolate, but, and I always thought I was chocolate. I swear. But, anyway. I'm pecan saying I still don't not claim chocolate in any way. I gotta be some chocolate. But anyway, the bottom line is, um, yeah. So you guys, it's like I don't want to lose track, but it feels like I did kind of get off track, and I apologize, you guys, for that. Bear with me for a second, because there's a lot of spirits with me. Like I said, they are walking with me. And that's why I rewrote Billie Holiday's song, because it's weird, y'all. Ever since I was younger, I've always sung her. I forgot to say, I'm a singer, writer. I wrote my first poem when I was 12 years old. That was called Education. But I knew I was, drop out. I knew I was going, I felt it in my soul. And it was like, education is built on meditation. Not only a fool needs to go to school, I said you can have a turn to learn. To earn is to learn. To be smart, you must be a part. You don't have to be so dumb just to want to learn some. To get to school, you don't have to run. Take your time home, girl. It'll be much fun. Now, if the teacher tells you to study tonight, common sense will tell you something's not right. Now, if you want to smell a good aroma, get yourself a high school diploma. Now, I wrote that really, 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 really early. And actually, I was writing so many poems, and my daughter father ended up tearing them all up. because they were about my life with him. It was like it was hard to look at the sky with a black eye, because like I said, he was really not a thing, okay? Uh, and then yeah. So I was a writer, and that's what I did. So me and Billie Holiday, I had Billie Holiday spirit in my soul for so long, ever since I was a little girl. Loved her voice, loved her music, and really loved her soul. It was something that connected. I said, I don't understand this. What's going on? It was like all of her energy was like relating to me. It's like I lived it or something. And I couldn't explain that as a young child. But anywho, on top of that, I end up getting older and rewriting Billie Holiday's song, Good Morning Heartache, because I wanted her spirit to be, you know, prevailed in such a way. I really love that woman. I really don't believe she would have been singing Good Morning Heartache. I believe that song would be just the way I wrote it, Goodbye Heartache. Goodbye, little heartache. You old gloomy sigh. Goodbye, little heartache. I left you and I'm alright. I tossed and turned until I seen you had gone. Now here's my beautiful song. I had forgot you, but I'm feeling okay. It seems I left you, then my life went okay. Now every day I start by saying to you, goodbye, little heartache, we're through. You can haunt me now. Can't shake you no how. I've got those no more blues. Straight through paid my dues. Goodbye, little heartache. You, you were not my friend. Goodbye, little heartache. All your fun must come to an end. Might as well get used to me singing my song. Goodbye, little heartache. You're gone. You guys, I can't breathe for some reason, and my throat was not ready. But I hope you guys got the idea of it, because that's not the real key and tone I would have sung it in. I didn't get anything to drink. I'm just trying to put this story out because I want to start, so you guys can get a piece of this sober story, because like I said, I haven't had time to write the book. So I'm gonna post this in the podcast. Okay. And yeah, it's gonna be like my full first blast podcast. And it's gonna be all about my sober journey. Um, the reason I'm talking about my sober journey, is because when you surpass life in levels in which you should have ended up on a gurney, right? It means, it means, you know, that you're a miracle, you know, and I know that I'm a miracle today. You know, that's why I don't ask for anything in any way on my channel. Um, However, to like, share, support, and subscribe, I mean, because that's the natural thing that they do to keep the algorithms alive, whatever, that may be. You guys that I met already, I met you guys, and you guys know me originally. A lot of people, had the chance to be a witness to my prophecy. I've spoken with you guys, I've shared with you guys things that that only your family knew that I was able to give to you. And whether I spoke to you on the phone at a business, I would, you guys, shout out to you guys who have subscribed that I prophesied to. Shout out, I need you. I need you guys to, I don't know, it's a way the comment is there, but it's not under the thing like it used to be. So I have to go in there and check it now. And it's unique because I've never seen it that way. It usually be right under, and mine's is somewhere that I have to find it. I don't know. YouTube has done a lot with my channel. I don't know what's going on, and quite frankly, I don't have a clue. I just know that I just celebrated 9 years on YouTube. Shout out to the 9 year. That nine. That's a spiritual completion. It's over. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, spiritually, it's something that's completed here, and it's originally celebrated through light and love. That strictly given back to you guys, because I don't just take. I actually like to give back. You know what was so freely given to me along my spiritual journey. Again, you guys, I was on my spiritual journey ever since 21. You know, um, and it's been quite a journey. You know what I mean? So I'm going to stop right here. I apologize, you guys, because this is like the beginning of the podcast. So it's part one. But I need to say for you guys that um, if I would have known what I know now about this spiritual journey, back then. I'm not going to say I would never have signed in. However, I don't think I would have signed up. If I would have known that the real threat in the whole wide world is a sober female in this world. If I would have known that the biggest threat is a sober female in this world, if I would have known, if somebody would tell me, you're going to be the most attacked, you're going to be the most slandered, you're going to be the most misunderstood, you're going to be prejudged, you're going to be assassinated of your character, you're going to be the most stalked, the most sought after, you're going to be the most, um, what do you call, prejudice against, whatever, you're going to be the most against. If I'd have known this, that, and the third, I want to say, word, would I have signed up? Oh, no. Oh, no. I would not have signed up. I think I would have signed in, but not up. If I would have known you would have been the most ridiculed, the most slandered, the most attacked, the most one assassinated character, just trying, the most darts thrown my way, just to say they did it today. If I would have known that the sober female was such a threat, would I have signed up? Young sober female was such a threat. Would I have signed up? I can begin to say, could I have? Not yet. Okay, not yet. You know, if I would have known that threat, would I have signed up? The answer is not yet. So we're going to continue because I need you guys to know that you know. So this is part one. Look out for part two. Just keep looking out. Keep supporting your girl because this is a whole big world, and you see it as you guys can see it as my channel has been attacked over and over for absolutely no reason. I don't go out here doing no asinine stuff. I don't bother anybody. I don't just and it's just the fact that you're a young, sober female. Period. Period. The most misunderstood, the most hit below the belt, the most slandered, the most slandered in such a way where you're no good. Like I said, it is heinous. If I would have known that I was the biggest threat out here, believe me, I'm totally sincere. I would have not signed up. I would have signed in, but not up. Okay, you guys. Until the next one. One.